Hi everyone, welcome back to Demand Decoded. Dan here for a solo episode today, all by myself, but it's a really interesting topic and something that I'm really keen to dive into, which is 5 steps to create LinkedIn ads that actually resonate. We've been working with more and more businesses recently on their LinkedIn ad strategy. A lot of budget is being diverted away from Google and traditional search PPC into LinkedIn ads to create brand awareness, to build affinity, to create demand for your category, because obviously we spoke about it on the last episode as well, the changing landscape, the diversification of search, and the rise of AI impacting the way that people actually find information. Marketers are adapting to this and moving ad spend from a typical direct response campaign into something more about building brand is what a lot of businesses and marketers are trying to do to have that long-term gain, which we need now because of the influence that AI is having on kind of every single search landscape. And when you think about LinkedIn ads, yes, they are expensive, but there is almost something worse than wasting money, which is wasting attention, the attention that you could have possibly got in the feed with a really good ad. Because if your creative doesn't resonate, none of the retargeting, audience insights, budgeting matters at all. The creative is what's going to build that memory, build that affinity with a member of your audience in the feed, a buyer in the feed, and ultimately bring them back around to your brand and turn them into a paying customer at the end of the day. So, as I mentioned, today I'm going to walk through 5 real-world steps to build LinkedIn ad creatives that people actually care about. I've got quite a few examples to run through as well to kind of build upon and talk through each point as well, just because I find that's a good way to illustrate a lot of the points I'm trying to make here. So if you did want to see the visuals, you'll have to head over to the YouTube video to see those, but I will talk through them in depth for our podcast audience too. With that out the way, let's dive into the episode. This podcast is brought to you by Blend. We're a B2B website and demand generation agency. We work with ambitious businesses just like yours to create and execute effective demand generation strategies that drive pipeline for your business. We also recognize that your website is the most important asset you have in marketing. So we specialize in building scalable websites on HubSpot that convert the demand that you've created. If you want to find out more about our services and see real results that we've generated for businesses, visit blendb2b.com. Before we dive into the 5 phases, I just want to cover the assumptions that I'm making in these. So 1, I'm assuming that you've already established LinkedIn as a really good fit channel for you. You understand your buyers are there and consuming content on the platform, and you'll be able to resonate with them in the feed. The other one I'm assuming is that you've already built your audience. You understand the job titles, functions, lists that you want to upload and target, whether that be retargeting or cold ads. You've already got that nailed because ultimately those things will drive the different ads that you need to create on LinkedIn. The most important thing obviously being is that your buyers are there. But once you've established that they're there, once you understand the different audiences that you want to create, the different lists that you want to go after, then you can actually move into creating the ad. And that's where we'll get into in this episode. The first step I have in the list here is the most fundamental one. It is absolutely crucial and you have to have this, which is a deep understanding of your audience. LinkedIn ads, every single kind of creative visual ad that you run on any platform, LinkedIn being a particular one for B2B, requires a deep understanding of your audience. You need to understand their pain points, the way that they talk, the language that they use to speak, the issues that they're having in their job, the solutions that they like to try and use to solve them, the content that they consume, the formats that they like to consume content in. All of these things are incredibly important to create an ad that actually resonates. And I'm in, I suppose, a more luxurious role where I have direct access to our customers. I'm a marketer marketing to marketers, which means that any communities that I'm part of. Because I'm a marketer, I'm also speaking to other marketers that are generally in our ICP too. So I hear about their pain points. But for a lot of marketers out there that are in different industries and sectors, verticals, you need to get that insight and information somewhere. So you might need to go into communities, look through LinkedIn comments, Reddit threads, whatever it may be, wherever your audience goes, you need to be in those places, consuming that content, understanding their challenges deeply, the way that they talk about them, the struggles that they have on a day-to-day basis. Try and gather that information yourself in the places they actually use, and back that up then with information from your sales team, your customer success team, your product team, all of the insights that you have from them, and sales call recordings, any information that you can have which is in direct connection to your customer, where you might be able to reveal their pain points and their challenges. Go and see what you can find from there, and that is going to be and build your basis for the core messages and the core pains that you want to get across to your market. Having a deep understanding of your audience allows you to connect and talk to them directly. Add creative when it's fluffy and abstract and doesn't really talk to anybody, doesn't hit on the emotion that is actually created from a buying cycle. Yes, marketers and B2B think of buying cycles as kind of logical, stripped back things, but actually what your buyer really cares about is emotional. They have a pain probably that they're trying to solve, a pain that they might not know about, but a pain that you can hit home, and they're trying to solve that. That's emotional for them. It may be something really important to their job that they're trying to find the answer to. That is an emotional thing. And if you can figure out what those pains are and you can talk to them directly, you can address them with your message, with your product or service, then you've got a really great chance of resonating in the feed and building a connection with your buyer. Here's an example of one of our ads, which is all built around a really fundamental understanding of our audience and their pain. So we find that when we speak to a lot of marketers about moving their website from WordPress or another CMS to HubSpot and they want it redesigned, actually one of the biggest problems that they have is not being able to edit it, or edit it as easy as they'd like. They still need to rely on developers to make small changes and incremental edits on the website. They can't simply just go in and create a new page and edit pages with ease. They're stuck really. And we notice that. I hear it speaking to marketers. Our sales team give me that feedback from a lot of calls. That's one of the biggest pains that we hear. And so our ad message in this one, for example, talks directly to that. So there's a key hook right here, which is create new website pages in seconds, not days. And we'll get into hooks and ad creative later on. But this talks exactly to the pain that our buyers are facing. They're having to wait days to create a simple website page. However, with our solution built on top of HubSpot, you can create new website pages in seconds, which is what we're getting across here. And this visual totally backs that up as well. What we can see is a clear kind of headline message here, talking directly to the audience. Hey marketers, do you want a website you can actually edit and scale? Of course, the answer is going to be yes. We are asking that question and we are expecting marketers in the feed to read that and say, yes. Yes, I absolutely do. We've got a nice visual here which represents you being able to drag and drop in a section into a page with ease, and a clear CTA, basically saying we can create your website, you can edit and scale with ease, explore our approach here, and then a link to explore that further. So this is just one example of an ad tailored and crafted to meet a specific pain that we understand our buyer is having. So their pain is editing a website. We've addressed that in this ad and shown them clearly what we have to offer in that space. As a result, this ad's one of our best performing in terms of conversions on a cold touch campaign. So yeah, that's the power of truly understanding your audience. Step 2 is to understand your message. And this comes quite nicely off the back of understanding your audience deeply, because the messages that you want to get across are all formed from that buyer research that you've already done. So what you want to do is take all of the buyer research that you've got. That might be from, those communities you're part of, your own research, sales calls, product team information, wherever it may be, you want to document all of that and review it either manually, feed it into AI to pull out the key themes and the key pains that your market is telling you, that your buyers are telling you. And what you want to do then is align things side by side too. We've got a core pain here, and you'll most likely start to see, 3 to 5 key themes start to pull out, and they'll be your core pains that you want to focus on in your LinkedIn messaging. And then on the other side, you've got your solution, how you actually solve it. And this will start to become quite clear once you actually map this out in a table and you've got pain on the left, solution on the right, because that is ultimately crafting your message to the market. And it's important to note here that the best LinkedIn ads that perform well solve one single pain and they answer one single question. If you're trying to answer 3, 4, 5 things in a single ad, you're likely answering nothing and talking to nobody at all. And it's also a dangerous area for really abstract and creative, fluffy ads to come into play that just dilute the message. Your message needs to be so closely aligned to that pain that you've pulled out of the buyer research and align closely with that in order to resonate in the feed. You want your marketer, your buyer, to scroll through that feed and instantly understand what the ad is about and instantly say, yeah, that is literally me. You want them to see that ad and resonate with it immediately. When we get started with a new campaign on LinkedIn and we think about messaging, we first do, as I just spoke about, and list out all of those pain points and all of those core messages that we want to cover. So it may be questions that the audience keep asking. It may be core pain points that they keep asking for advice about. All of those things we'll list out, and then that starts to form our ads. So here's an example here from another one of our ads that really captures a core message, and it's actually a core question that the market keeps on asking. So for us, obviously being predominantly focused on HubSpot websites as well as demand gen, one of the first things we get asked when we go into like an engagement or somebody's thinking of putting their website on HubSpot is, are HubSpot websites slow? It's a misconception that's somehow developed in the market, often from other vendors and developers trying to, keep them on your platform. And maybe this was true once upon a time, but HubSpot have done a lot of work since to make sure their websites aren't slow, and they're actually among the fastest CMSs on the market now. So we understand that that is something buyers are asking again and again and again, and it's actually one of the core reasons why people choose to not move their website to HubSpot, because they think it's slow. We want to address that directly via LinkedIn ads. So our ad is simply doing that in the most direct way possible. We are saying, are HubSpot websites slow in the creative? Now, what you'll notice here is the message is actually, I would call this slightly clickbaity, because we're saying, are HubSpot websites really that slow? Now, we know they're not slow. This is kind of clickbaity to say, are they really that slow? Saying, okay, potentially they are slow, but this is kind of clickbait in a good way. It asks the question that the audience is already asking, which is the key. And when they get onto the article, it actually answers that immediately and directly. You don't have to actually dig for information for hours and hours to find it. We address it instantly. So we're asking the question clearly. We're directly positioning the message to the market in a really clear way, and that's the main thing here. We understand our audience. We understand which message will resonate best because we know the questions that they're asking, and we're putting that into practice here in a LinkedIn ad. There's another great example here from Amazon Filters, which is a company that we work with, and one that you wouldn't typically associate with really great LinkedIn ads. It's a manufacturer of filtration solutions. And one thing that they understand in their market is that one of the biggest frustrations is with their customers and their potential customers having to switch out filters lots because it costs a lot of money, it damages the environment, it's really not good in lots of different ways. Amazon Filters products last a lot longer than the typical filtration product. They're better for the environment, and they understand that, and they understand that's a key message that they want to address to their market. So they are asking quite directly here, frequent filter change outs. What they expect the answer to be a lot of times here is yes, that's right. We are changing our filtration much more than we probably need to. We're doing it frequently. Is there a better solution out there? I don't know. And now they're saying, basically, yes, there is. Time to change up your solution, get lifelong value from your filtration system as the CTA there. So they're clearly addressing the market to say, we understand this is a problem that you require to frequently change your filter, which is poor for the environment, it's poor for your wallet, and there is an alternative solution, which is us, ultimately. Of course, the examples I've just shown are all single image ads, but the third point on my list is to actually understand which format is best. Which format is best for the message that you're trying to get across in the market. And ultimately, the message that we've created and found in phase 2 should drive the format, not the other way around. You shouldn't start with the format in mind, you should start with the message in mind. Because if that particular message could be got across in a carousel or a video or a document better than a single image ad, you need to lean into that, and you need to ensure your creative is being presented in the strongest way possible to get that message across. As we've seen in a lot of these single image ad examples I've just shared, they are punchy headlines. They're a single idea that's just being solved and a message being presented in a single line, a lot of the cases. But if you've got a bit more depth to get across, maybe in a product demo showing how your product actually works, or a kind of side-by-side comparison with a competitor, a video ad might work best to show that product. A document ad might be best to actually show that side-by-side comparison. Starting with the format will just simply limit what's possible on LinkedIn. So it's important to keep your options open here to allow you to actually lean into the best format possible to actually get your idea across. There's a fantastic example here from John Evans, a thought leader ad, which is a partnership with LinkedIn. And I absolutely love this ad. The first hook is brilliant. At last, a funny B2B advert. It really hits on the fact that a lot of B2B content is boring, boring to boring. I'm sure we've all heard that phrase before. And what I love about this ad is its ability to just capture your attention the entire time. It shows you an ad that is actually funny, but instead of just playing the ad for you, it shows you how the emotions are tied into the ad and how they build throughout the video. So instead of just trying to capture your attention through a video that you're probably not that interested in, what you are interested in is how that audio is building on different emotions, how it's using human psychology in order to resonate with the audience. So what we can see here is the different emotions, disgust, anger, fear, sadness, neutral, happiness, all of these different emotions that are building throughout the video, and how the waves are responding to what you're seeing on the screen. It's a really kind of it's a masterclass in how to keep and retain attention for the entire ad. It's truly a fantastic example. Just to show you a kind of different example on the other end of the spectrum here, which is a screen recording, a really kind of easy thing to get started with when it comes to LinkedIn ads. And again, this is an example from us. I kind of want to follow this message through, which is all around website editability, because this is giving you an idea into how you can use different formats and different messaging together. So staying with the same message, which is around, we have a website that we can't edit. We might need to potentially move CMS. We're asking a really clear, direct question here, which is, do you wish editing your website was this easy? Again, what we're wanting as a response is, yes, we absolutely do want that. And this video ad is simply a screen recording of showing you our approach to development and how easy it is to edit and build pages with this approach. And it really is just a screen recording. talking through it and showing you just how easy that is with a simple CTA, which is to see more about our approach essentially. And this works really well because it's very authentic. We're not trying to dress anything up here. This is real. And people that are struggling to edit their website, we realize that they've probably been missold the dream, which is, they'll have a website that they can easily edit and evolve with ease, and it hasn't actually worked out that way. If we were to try and dress this up in a highly polished, animated style, which shows you exactly, how one thing flows into the other, and it's so super polished and it doesn't look real, it will lose some of its authentic value. What this does is it's so raw that people will be able to quite easily see that, oh, okay, that is a real CMS, that is a real page editor, and it really is that easy. And that's what we want to get across. It's the authentic nature of showing you just how easy it is. And this is an example where the message spans multiple formats. We started with image ads because we can directly answer that question. Then we moved on to video ads because there's actually more depth that we want to show here in the message itself too. There's another ad here in a different format, which I absolutely love. Again, I just love the use of the format. I think it's so great. And it's ActiveCampaign with an ad running a competitor ad, comparison ad really, which is ActiveCampaign versus MailChimp. It's a comparison that they understand their buyers are making. When it comes to email software, they are the main two players out there. MailChimp being the main one again, and ActiveCampaign are trying to steal some of that market share. And they're directly addressing the audience here by saying, considering a new marketing automation platform in 2025. They understand that the majority of their market would have heard of MailChimp already, and they're addressing that directly. And instead of just putting up a simple image ad here, which would work, by the way, with a comparison table, they understand that there's a bit more depth and a bit more research and evaluation involved here for their market. And they're addressing that in a really nice document style ad here, which has a lot more information and depth that you can get in than you can get into a single image ad, for example. And you can take it away. What I also love here is that download is the CTA. So we might be thinking, oh God, I'm going to click this and get a gated download form. Nope, it goes straight to the PDF, which we absolutely love. So their buyers are able to understand directly in the feed that MailChimp does have a competitor. There is another choice out there, and it may be the better choice. Let me understand what the comparison is. Click download, get the PDF straight away, and be able to research and evaluate more, I suppose, the different options available to them and the different features, the different benefits, and go from there, really. So a really great example of where to use document ads to present more information, understand your buyer deeply, a message that resonates, and yeah, just a great example of a different format here. Phase 4 is the creative process, and this has got to be my favorite process because this is where the kind of messy, scrappy ideas start to really come to life, and I love working with our creative team on bringing all of these things to life. This is where the list of messages and the formats that go alongside them are really kind of brought to life by creative minds, and it's really pairing up that message with a creative idea and how to format it in a unique way that resonates with your buyer. And it's really important to note here that the creative process should be fast. Like LinkedIn requires a lot of iteration. It requires different ads to be launched at different times in order to keep up the kind of momentum that you have on the platform, in order to avoid ad fatigue that you might get if your frequency is too high, for example. So it's really important to make this process fast, iterative, and get the idea out first. So just to show you a few examples from our process. So we've got a campaign here which is all about WordPress to HubSpot, for example. And what you can see here is one of our creative geniuses, I will call them, has essentially, just sketched out some ideas. So these are all from messages that I created. So in terms of what we actually want to show, tired of not being able to edit your website, lots of different plugins you need to update, and they are literally just hand drawing here, just literally scribbling out different ideas and approaches that they can take. We'll work on these together. I might occasionally scribble out some ideas. What you're trying to do is build a connection between your message and a creative idea. That is the creative process ultimately. And there are lots and lots of great examples of how to do this. Cognism have a fantastic example here of a play on Pac-Man, which I absolutely love. They've really nailed the creative and the message here, because firstly, by using the words cheat code in a lot of different places. We've got cheat code in the ad copy, we've got cheat code in the image, we've got cheat code in the CTA. It really kind of indicates that you get immediate impact and immediate value. And the Pac-Man visual works really well here, because whilst it's playful, whilst it does lean on a game essentially, it's really clear what the visual is trying to get at, because you understand that with Cognism, okay, you are going after different leads or different accounts, and you're trying to capture them essentially. And in Pac-Man, you know, you're trying to capture all of the coins, the points, whatever it may be. You're going after them. And Cognism perfectly kind of mirror that with the Pac-Man game here and with their message. It's really great. It's a visual way to explain it, and it's playful, but it's also crystal clear, which I really, really like. There are some more formulaic approaches to LinkedIn ads too that are just formats that typically work really well. One being this kind of before and after approach that is typically able to be used across a lot of different businesses, because you'll have what happens before somebody uses my solution, what happens after they use my solution. So here we've got a couple of examples actually. I mean, we actually have lots in this kind of format, but we show websites that we've created before we created them and after we created them. So this example, which is a company we work with called Lab Guru. We show how their website first started, which is, you know, a kind of non-modernized, difficult to read and consume, hard website to navigate. And we show how it's now going. So they've got their new website, and we actually show the results as well. 132% increase in demos, 19% increase in sessions. So we're showing the before state and the after state. And this is something that can be taken and repurposed a lot across a lot of different businesses. If you show where the before state is, which is where a lot of companies are now, and what they can get out of using your product and solution, then you can show the advantage of moving from old to new being your solution. Now, depending on the message that you want to get across, you might actually lean more towards authenticity, towards highly, you know, playful creativity. This example here from Daytel is a really great one of using authentic, real imagery to get a core message across. So the message they want to address here is likely in a retargeting campaign, which is to establish credibility in the market immediately as well with their audience. So they've basically been named Sage UK and Ireland Overall Partner of the Year. Something that they've repeated time and time again. And instead of just showing, you know, that badge or that logo in a LinkedIn ad, they've actually taken the post that was shared on LinkedIn with their trophies, with them stood up on stage, with a customer comment on LinkedIn just below it and highlighting that fact. And what they're doing here is by simply screenshotting and sharing this as an ad, it builds trust in a much deeper, authentic way with customers, because this is actually what a customer is saying about their brand. It's not just, you know, a fluffy, creative testimonial that could have been made up, let's face it. This is a true comment from a real person on their LinkedIn post. And the message here is all about, you know, building trust, de-risking themselves as a business, ensuring that they are a trusted partner. And sometimes a creative around trust is better done in a more authentic way, because yeah, it does build that deeper connection with the market. And we've also seen that in a lot of ads. So, When we produce work, for examples, and case studies, we'll obviously push those out on LinkedIn. We'll tag some of the relevant people that we've worked with on that project. And a lot of the times they will leave comments, they will reshare, they will repost with their own thoughts. And then we have a perfect ad right there to use. It's very authentic. It will support our message of driving trust. Again, when it comes to kind of messaging and ad creative, you have to understand the audience that you want to work with. But building and creating ads in an authentic way is a really great way to, leverage trust and build deep connections. One last thing I'll say on creative when it comes to LinkedIn ads is that often being too creative actually lands you up being ignored. There's a fine balance to tread between creativity and being clever, and a lot of the times when it comes to LinkedIn ads, clarity is better than clever. That's because people are time poor in the feed. They're simply scrolling, they want to consume information, they don't want to stop and actually have to deeply understand what you're trying to say in your ad to get any value out of it. They want to get value immediately from things in their feed, and that's what your ad needs to aim to do as well. And if that means stripping back a creative to simply be, words on an image, that's totally fine too. Fantastic example here from Notion, which, I'm sure we're all aware of, which simply uses extremely bold text here. They could have, put a screenshot of their unlimited AI product in here, but actually they understand that there are two core pain points that their buyers need to solve, which is their audience needs to save time and they need to save money, and Notion will save you both of those things. And they're getting that across in the most simple, straightforward way possible with a simple text-based ad here, which is extremely bold. It stands out in the feed, and that's exactly what you need to do. You need to be able to resonate with your audience immediately as they scroll. Stand out in the feed. Do not, just blend in with every other post that you're seeing. You need to stand out either in a highly kind of bold, creative way, or by looking really authentic, just like another post in the feed. Once you have your creative to use, whether it be an image ad, a video ad, the document, it's actually time to start creating the ad on LinkedIn. So what you have to work with here is obviously the ad headline text itself and also the CTA text. So, not much option in terms of what to work with. So it's important to be clever about how you use these spaces to work alongside your creative. So when it comes to the ad text itself, the headline copy as it's known on LinkedIn, what you want to do here is really just focus on this first sentence, because most of the time that's the only thing that's going to be consumed. It's important to note here that most of your LinkedIn audience, people that are scrolling the feed, are not clicking the see more button on ads, unless that first sentence truly resonates with them, at which point they might. But even still, they're less likely to click see more. They're more likely to just cast their eyes down to the creative and then down again to the CTA. So whatever is in that first sentence, just be hyper focused on delivering immediate value and getting immediate attention from your audience. So being very direct there in terms of what you want to say. Do not assume that somebody's going to click see more to then get your message after that. Just use that first sentence very wisely. What I do and what I advise other people to do in a lot of cases, actually just to use one sentence only, because a lot of the times there's no point wasting extra time and extra effort to even create more content below that, because it's so underused, that see more when it comes to an ad. And actually what you want people to focus on a lot of the time is the creative copy that they can then click through to a landing page. So yeah, my advice there would be keep it simple, keep it direct, and make sure that that first sentence resonates immediately. Then when it comes to the call to action text, of course, this is kind of CTA best practices, but actually make this actionable. When you have things in there like see more, click more, learn here, all of these phrases and words, these actionable words, do really help click-through rates. I've seen measurable increases of 0.5% in some cases, by simply changing that text to, click here to see more about XYZ, rather than just saying the XYZ thing. So don't necessarily rely on the button that you get to select on LinkedIn ads, like learn more, download, subscribe. Actually integrate whatever you want them to do into that CTA text too, because you'll find that simply by prompting somebody to do that thing, they're more likely to do it than if you just leave them to figure that out on their own. And yeah, I've seen from incremental tests from our own ads that actually adding in that direct action does have a good significant impact on CTR there. So it's worth doing for sure. Another really important thing to do in the CTA is to loop back to your main message that you've stated in your ad copy and your creative itself. The Daytel example is actually a really great one for doing this. So their CTA copy is don't settle for second best, work with Sage is UK's partner of the year. And essentially that loops back to their message of being named, the UK and Ireland partner of the year, and that's reflected in the creative too. Then it's reflected in the CTA itself as well. So you want all of those three things to communicate the same message and essentially build on a layer of kind of intent, which the last one is to actually take action. And that's a really great example from Daytel of how to do that. Client of ours, by the way, if you were interested in knowing that. Okay, so that's our 5 phases to create LinkedIn ads that actually resonate. Let's just go back through those, because I feel like that was quite a lot of information, and I just want to kind of cover those off again to make sure we're all clear on what needs to be done. So once again, taking into consideration, you understand LinkedIn is the right platform for your business. You understand the audiences that you want to create and the kind of messages that would resonate with them. For example, a cold audience will require potentially different messaging from a retargeting audience. Then you want to have a deep understanding of that audience. That's our phase 1. So understand their pain points deeply, what they'd like to know about you deeply. If you can tell your audience the 3 to 5 most pressing things that you'd like to, that's what you want to include in your ads. So you need to figure out what those things are and understand them deeply. Then we get into the message. So actually understand the messages that you want to address in the market. Take the research that you've done, map out the core pain points, however you want to do that. AI is probably a great shout to pull out those key themes, map them against how your product or how your solution solve those needs. Then you've got some messages that you want to start working with. Then figure out which formats best suit those ads. If it's a product or demo that you want to show, if you want to show, a product feature, for example, that may be a video. If you just want a core statement, then that might be a single image ad, etc. Map the message to the format. Then we've got the creative process. So bringing that idea to life. Start messy. Scribble down the message, link it back with the idea, and go from there. Then we've actually got crafting the ad on LinkedIn. So when you've got everything in place, when you've got that creative, which deeply understands your audience, hits on the message, how do you actually bring it together in an ad on LinkedIn with the components that they allow you to add on? So there we have it. That's how you go about creating really great ads on LinkedIn, which resonate with your audience. Hopefully that was helpful. If you did enjoy this episode, would really appreciate a follow on whichever player you listen to, or a like on LinkedIn, or a like on YouTube, sorry. And yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll catch you next time. Bye everyone.